In this Photoshop video, we're going to take a look at how to quickly and easily silhouette this camera from the white background. If you're doing any kind of product photography or anything like that in a white box, you'll find this extremely helpful, especially if you need to remove the background so that it's transparent or add a different color or different kind of background to your image. So for this particular task, we're going to use the quick selection tool, since we have pretty even color around the camera here, and the quick select tool makes it extremely simple to select the areas that we want to ultimately remove. So to get started, I'll just simply left mouse click here in the upper left hand corner. It doesn't really matter where I start, and I'm just moving my cursor along, and you'll notice that it's adding to my selection, and it's really paying attention to the edge of the camera, and you'll notice just that quick it filled in the blanks, but it also included the stand here, and we'll come back and remove that in a second. I also need to remove the white in this area here, as well as in the rewind lever here, and you'll notice that the tool is set to plus, which is by default. So I'm just going to click in here, and that'll take care of the white in that area. We'll click in there and in here, and you'll notice that it also selected some of the metal because the color is close. So I'll go back, and holding the Alt key down, or the Option key, I can add part of this metal back in here again, because we don't want that to be deleted. And actually there's a small piece there too. So it's really just a matter of going in and tweaking your selection using the positive and the negative brushes to where you get it to where you're happy. And I just noticed here that this little button, we need to bring that back in. So I'll just hold the Alt key down and add that in, and then see if we can get these corners in here a little bit. Whoop, too far. See if we can get there a little bit more too. And see if we can bring a little more of this button here in. And then lastly here, again, I'm holding the Alt key down because we're subtracting. Didn't need to zoom in quite that much. And it's actually not bad looking. So you can see where it's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty darn close. Let's just see if we can tighten this area up a little bit. I mean, considering the alternative for really cleaning up this camera, this saves so much time working with this particular tool. Now, the one thing that I will point out here as we're going through this is that there are some cases where this tool just will not work as effectively as it may in others. And after we finish this camera, I'm going to actually show you a case study where that is the truth. Okay, so I think all of our white area is selected the way we want it. So the next thing we want to do is invert the selection. And to do that, we're going to hit Command-Shift-I or Control-Shift-I, depending on whether you're on a PC or a Mac. And actually, you know what, I just noticed this little area here. Let's see if we can, there we go. Okay, so Control-Shift-I inverts the selection, and then I can just Control-C or Command-C to copy it, Control or Command-V to paste it. and we have our camera that's transparent. Now, one thing, at first glance, you might think, oh yeah, it's perfect. But the real test here, and this is something that you want to pay attention to, especially if you're silhouetting a dark object, is to create a layer and fill it to black. And that way you'll see any highlighting or anything like that. Like you'll notice around the handle here and around the bottom there's still a little bit of ghosting, and there's a couple ways to get around that. One way is to select your object by control clicking it, and then come up to selection, modify, contract, and contract by 1 pixel. Okay, and then we're going to invert the selection, so control shift I again, and hit delete. And whenever I deselect that, you'll notice that it's much cleaner. Another thing that I'll do sometimes is before I actually copy and paste it, I'll feather the pixels by 1, and sometimes that'll make it a little bit cleaner. And one more option that I'll point out here is that in some cases, if you have just a faint hairline around certain edges, you can come up to layer, scroll down to where it says matting, and choose defringe. And usually a setting of 1 or 2 will take care of any of that additional fringing that happens around the image. So you can see that it just cleaned it up a little bit more. If I do before and after, you'll notice especially in the handle area here. So that's it for this camera.